I don't know what day it is. I don't know what's going on. I don't know where we all are. All I know is there are World Cup games happening everywhere around me. I am literally the Squidward meme, but I am living the dream, getting to talk about these games. David Goss here at the Kickback Studios in New York City for our live daily show every day, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, talking soccer. And I am very lucky today because I get to be joined by two of my favorite soccer people in the world. You know him very well. He has sat by me throughout the last few weeks on live stream last night with me and Michele Giannone. And then for the first time of the World Cup, we have the Portuguese legend, our own Nuno Gomes. Our own, what was his name? Semedo? Who was
Smith, Nelson Smith, is that what you go for?
I had to go with the diminutive playmakers for you.
Good.
We have Eric Krakauer with us. You know him from NWSL, from Charlotte FC, MLS, beIN Sport. What else? What other platitude? Sirius Radio. Everywhere people talk about soccer.
At some points, you know.
There you go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wherever there's work.
Wherever there's work. And Kickback right here as well.
Yes. I'm so happy to be here. Bom dia a todos. Boa tarde if you're outside of the United States.
You've been doing the First Touch Dispatchers with us, getting ready for this World Cup. You're now going to be with us for the next week to sit in. You're taking Jordan Angeli's seat right now.
Big shoes to fill.
Big responsibility.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about your center back career at the pro level
yes,
as well.
Center back. Shortest center back in history.
Listen, it's all about pace. It's all about ability at the feet. We've got a ton to talk about. I've got my Iraq shirt on because I'm a little worried it might be the last chance to wear it at this World Cup. Shout out to Valère, who will be at that game as well. We, of course, have 3 more groups that will wrap up this afternoon and this evening. We will have Group G, Group H, and Group I. Some big games. France versus Norway. We have, of course, the Egypt-Iran game that will be happening out in Seattle, which is going to be a vibe on its own that we will talk about. And we will, of course, review and recap everything that we saw last night, including the U.S. losing in their group finale, but clinching first spot, as we already knew in the group, and moving on to face Bosnia, the dramatic Ecuador victory as well. So there's a lot for us to dig in, a lot for us to talk about as you take a look, if you're watching, at the schedule to come for today, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, and then a big gap to 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and then 11 p.m. Eastern Time for the final games where Group G will complete. Group G, one of the most chaotic groups because of the lack of wins. Only 1 win so far across the 4 games. So there is a lot of different ways that can go. And the Scotlands and South Koreas and Paraguays of the world, they are all going to be laser focused because this is one of the groups, along with Cape Verde and Saudi Arabia, that could drop below that 3-point threshold for that precious final 3rd place spot in the next round. But before we get into that, I'd like to start with our big things. We haven't had Eric here yet. So Eric, you get a lot of runway here, if you can fill the space. Overall, World Cup big things, vibes, what have you thought?
I think it's been, on the field, a great World Cup. Lots of goals, record scoring in this competition, which you would have expected given how many games there are in the group stages. But for the most part, I don't know if you guys will agree, most of the games have delivered something in some way, even a 0-0, for example. So I've been happy with the way the World Cup is developed, and I'm interested to see now how these last few games in the group stage develop because of that 2nd place, 3rd place, and the head-to-head controversy that people have been talking about recently, whether games mean anything at the end and whether, for example, Austria and Algeria are going to be playing to win, you know, which harkens back to 1982, but for the most part, very positive.
You've got the Algeria kit on, so we know which side of the shame of Gijón you were on back then.
You know what? One of the most disappointing teams for me in this competition, but anybody who watched AFCON would have said, you know, you shouldn't be surprised. But given the amount of talent that they have at their disposal, I thought they'd play a lot better.
What do you make so far? 48 teams, overall World Cup.
I think it's been better than expected, honestly. On the field, off the field, I was talking to a friend and obviously ex-coworkers and friends from my time living and working in Mexico, and it's been great. They've been loving it. Games in Mexico has been packed. Games in Canada has been packed. We know all the chat about the off-field issues and the ticket prices and everything, not defending that. Yep. I think there's a lot to criticize and a lot that hopefully is going to get fixed for the next event a big event that we're going to have here in the U.S., probably the next Copa America, like some reports are saying. But we knew and we said that everything is going to get forgiven once the game started.
Yep.
And on the field, it's been a brilliant World Cup. I will put already, without getting still to the knockout phases, the on-the-field product has even been much better than what we saw in Qatar, for example.
I would agree. Yeah,
I would agree with that.
I think there's the least amount of games where it felt like one team couldn't be on the field. Like, this was one of the things I talked about with Scotland yesterday is, and I think Scotland fans should be frustrated, they've played scared in a way that very few teams have played. Jordan did not play scared the way they've played. Cabo Verde, even Saudi Arabia, with the history they had last
Qatar
time.
with 9 players.
Yes, Qatar's bad, and Qatar's a bad team.
They at least
came
tried
and
to play on
played
the front foot at times.
Yeah, and I think that's been overall, I think, a positive. I think it's made it fun. I think it's opened some eyes to people that the game is a little bit bigger than they realize, that CONCACAF teams and Asian teams and African teams can challenge, and we're not talking about Bastian Schweinsteiger, but for everyone else, they've opened their eyes and learned a bit. I think that's been fun. It'll be interesting in a round of 32 now, as it's like single elimination, pressure on. How do teams like what I just say handle a Germany? But at the same time, we've got Japan, Brazil, and Netherlands, Morocco already lined up as a round of 32. Those all four of those countries, you wouldn't be shocked if they were semifinalists.
I just want to add another thing that relates to the on-field play. One of the fears going into this tournament was the heat.
Yeah.
And you haven't really seen, except for Switzerland, Qatar, and San Francisco. They're opening
at like a noon game.
Yeah, noon game.
Right.
You know, heat advisory, that impacted the play clearly. But I can't think of any other game that's been impacted by the weather.
Yeah, you have a lot of indoor games. I think Scotland would say they were impacted in Miami against Brazil. No offense, it doesn't matter. You would have lost 3-0 to Brazil.
And they were training in Charlotte, and Charlotte is very humid as well at this time of year.
Yeah. I think I agree. I think if you look at the knockouts to come, there's a lot of indoor venues, and there's a lot of late night games. It really will be the Miami games, I think, that are left. Kansas City's had rain, which I think has helped maybe a little bit.
Not
bring
the
some heat down. And here it's been gorgeous. I mean, I've been to 2 of the games.
Yeah.
Like, they are the coldest days they've been here in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forget what I was gonna say. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. One of the things looking forward, and this is coming from someone who hasn't really looked at what venues are hosting what games. I'm curious to see how teams that have been playing in roofed stadiums are going to do in the knockout stages against teams that played most of their games outdoors.
Yeah.
Will that have a wear and tear effect on them?
I think that's gonna be fascinating. I think travel's gonna be fascinating now, because with the third place teams, even some of the second place, you are not base camped as close to where you're playing as the pre-planning. Yeah. I think the other thing that will be fascinating now is altitude, which we thought would be a huge factor at Mexico City, and it looks like they're going to get Ecuador, who lives at a higher altitude.
Right.
I will say, my Mexican guy who I talk to every morning, he goes, "We're not scared of anyone. We're going. We're going to the final." I was like, "Hey man, I'm sorry. Like, you got Ecuador." He goes, "No, who cares? It's Ecuador."
As it stands right now, will be Scotland, but that's gonna change. Scotland needs several miracles to advance. It looks like it's gonna be Ecuador, and I know for a fact in the round of 32 they were expecting a much quote unquote easier team.
And the joke we were making yesterday, because so many of the Mexican players have gone to Europe, they don't really play in Mexico as long. They probably play in less altitude than the Ecuador players.
Yeah.
Because so many of them, like Mexico, they never play friendlies at home.
Nope.
And because of no World Cup qualifying, most of these guys, if you didn't, Edson Alvarez has played 4 games at altitude in the last 5 years, and they are the last 2 games that were played in the World Cup and the 2 warm-up friendlies.
Yeah. No, against Ecuador, the altitude, it's not going to affect the rival as much as obviously another team like Scotland, or if they qualify in the round of 16, potentially England. Like England in the altitude, in the heat of Mexico City, that's going to be a factor. Yeah. Ecuador is not going to be affected by it.
If the witch doctors allow Harry Kane out.
That's right.
I think he's released him from his
well, we'll see. We'll see against Los Canaleros.
I just want to add one last thing. Can we move the final to Azteca? To Mexico City Stadium. Yeah. What an environment. It gives me goosebumps every time I see it. It's just incredible.
having the final at MetLife, and I understand the thought process. It's purely because it's New York City and because it's the East Coast.
Yeah.
So it's better for
international
other
audiences.
parts of the world. But MetLife as a stadium, terrible choice for the final. Like you said, should have been Azteca, opening game, final. We've seen SoFi, amazing stadium. Atlanta, incredible stadium. MetLife as a stadium, as a venue, terrible choice for the final.
They could have played it at Citi Field instead. There'd be like 37 errors, and then everyone would be pathetic. I'm very excited because as we talk about these knockout games, I cannot wait to preview like known matchups, everything to play for, all of this. But let's dig into what we've seen so far. Let's go into yesterday, and let's start with our North American soccer segment presented by Soccer.com. Whether you're training, competing, or adding to your collection, Soccer.com has you covered with the Trianda Pro, the official match ball of the FIFA World Cup 26. It's the same ball you've seen on the pitch across all 16 host cities this summer, and now you can own the highest performance match ball Adidas and FIFA produce. Available now at Soccer.com. You actually saw yesterday Sebastian Berhalter getting ready for one of the corner kicks, picks up the ball, and the thing about the ball is similar to the Jabulani, it's not stitched. It's four pieces that are paneled together, which is part of why Kasper Schmeichel and Joe Hart are on TV being like, oh no, it's moving too fast. The goalkeepers can't catch up. It's amazing because Berhalter is one of the best set piece takers on the planet, but of course in the U.S. pool. And watching him work with it, you've realized, okay, he's figured something out.
Yeah, he studied it.
He knows where he wants to place it. He knows where he wants to strike it. We are getting one sent in here. I cannot wait to get a touch on it because I remember as a kid, the 06 World Cup ball, the first person who got it, we put it out on the field and it was like, oh my God, I'm Ronaldinho. Like every ball you strike goes 5 yards farther. It goes a little bit faster. So everyone should go out and get a Trianda so that you can get your kids it because I think it'll be fun.
I mean, you noticed right from the first kick that ball flies.
Yeah.
And then that was reinforced by the head of comms, director of comms at Charlotte, because the Scottish national team, that's where they're based. And they did a media game, Scottish media versus US media and whatnot. I wasn't invited. I don't understand why.
They didn't want to get work.
I actually was hosting an event, and Woody is his name. He told me afterward the way that you pass that ball, the way that ball flies is incredible.
Yeah, and I think we've seen it throughout the game. So if you want to get one, go to Soccer.com. You can get personalized ones for specific matches. So you can get one that says Bosnia, USA, July 1st, and you'll have that forever. You could get one that says USA, Egypt for July 5th, but you'd be taking a little bit of a risk on that one. But go for it if you want to, but no matter what, you go out there, get the official ball. As we get the final games of the group, we did a live post-game show yesterday, so that's up on the SoccerWise feed. If you want it, myself, Michele, and Matt Doyle talking there. We will do our preview show for the Bosnia game coming up. So, Eric, I'll go to you first. Just overall thoughts of the way the U.S. handled Game 3, what the group stage looked like for them as they now move towards a game against Bosnia where Michele's going to take me off track immediately.
No, before saying something, you got to congratulate Mauricio Pochettino.
Do you want to start there?
I want to, Coach, we got you. Congratulations for winning the group and advancing to a round of 32 as the best of that group, I guess. Repeating myself. I mean, he got mad yesterday that the media, before asking questions, didn't congratulate him. So, Coach, we got you here.
First of all, I love the energy, and I think we should keep talking about this topic because
I love Pochettino. I'm being sincere.
No, I completely agree.
Or not being sincere. You're specifically being sarcastic.
I couldn't believe that was his approach to the questions. This is a guy who coached in England.
Yeah, it was the wrong wording. It was the correct point. His point was we should not act like this is a funeral. And that should be his message to his team.
Yes.
And it was his message 100%. To the fan base. That wording, because I read it too, was absurd, which is it's not the media's job. But what he's trying to do is affect the media's narrative that they're going to build, right? And what he's saying is for us, which is we came on a post-game show last night. I started with a big sigh. Okay, that's a vibe. And then you came in and were like, they shouldn't have rotated. They lost the momentum. Mauricio Pochettino's point was, we just fucking made history. We put up 6 points. We scored some of the most goals in U.S. World Cup history. We won the group for the third time ever. Let's be there.
I agree.
Unfortunately for him, his team didn't hold on for. I think if they got the draw, it would have been totally different if they had seen it out 2-2. But to say media should congratulate you feels very much, and you and I have been there. You've been there as well. CONCACAF stuff. You're around Liga MX media, and they do these like long questions where they like ask these like philosophical questions where they ask their own question, and in it they're like, profe, you are obviously a great mind, you're a great leader.
Media are not the fans.
Yeah.
Media doesn't.
Although apparently there was a turkey, someone in media wearing a turkey jersey.
That's not mine.
But you also know that.
Sorry,
You're fine. But you also know that, you say media aren't fans, but very often you see people in the media try to butter up to coaches in order to develop a relationship that will allow them to then dig deeper. Look, the post-match press conference aside, there was the narrative leading up to the game about momentum. Most of the players that I've spoken to have dismissed this idea of momentum.
Yeah.
Okay. I never played professionally, so I'm not going to argue with them. Do I think that there is an impetus? Essentially, I'm using a synonym here. But do I think that you can interrupt a streak that you're on? Yeah, we see it in sports all the time. Did this happen, or will it happen after this game? I don't think so. What I thought was interesting about watching the game yesterday, and I don't know whether it was intentional or not, I think it was intentional because of the profiles of the players, was that there was a difference in how the team set up with the ball, the way the team built up with the ball. And that's what caught me by surprise, because when you have, regardless of whether you have players with slightly differing profiles, and in this case, I'm speaking specifically to a guy like Trusty and to Scally on the right, who aren't Dest bombing up the wing, Robinson on the left-hand side. You wouldn't want to deviate too much from the game plan, from the blueprint that has been so successful. And so I thought that there was some confusion in the build-up, because at times they built up with a 4, at times with the 3, and whereas the U.S. men's national team is built from the back with the same 3 consistently, there were changes there where Scally sometimes would drop and Trusty would go forward, and vice versa. And then sometimes you'd have Berhalter come in deep, the best performer by far in this match. And so I think that that's where I spotted a little bit of a problem going forward, but I was put at ease right away in the second half, because then they stabilized that. They were like, okay, we're going to build with the 3. Trusty, you're the guy. Scally, you're going to push forward.
Yeah. I think the hard part about the game is you're trying to test players out to then step into the real lineup.
Yep.
But you don't have the aspects of the real lineup. So in all of that, you don't have Alex Freeman and his verticality. You don't have Serginho Dest, his attacking ability. You don't have Malik Tillman and his ball progression. So like, you're missing all of that. You're trying to get a Mark McKenzie to play within the old system, but he doesn't have the pieces around him that are those guys.
Yes.
And that's like a huge difficulty. In the end, and we sort of argued this yesterday, in the end, there is an opportunity to change the perception. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on that's outside of the game. For Mauricio Pochettino, for this federation, for their job, beating Bosnia will do all of that more than beating Turkey.
100%.
And so that was the whole goal, was how do you set yourself up to win on July 1st? How do you set yourself up to win on July 5th? And unfortunately, this was the way to do it. And I think Poch's reaction was like, we earned this.
Yeah.
We earned, because of our play,
we earned the rotation,
the right to rotate,
yeah.
And now everyone's mad at us because we rotated and we lost.
And he's right about that.
It's the right message, poor wording.
Like
you said, I want to be careful here, because I'm going to do some mea culpa. I think I was too negative
But I think there were people on that page with you.
But it's our job also to, again, we're not fans. We're fans, but we're not fans, or we
don't say us as much as Clint and Alexi.
I mean, I'm certainly not a fan. I support only one team in the World Cup, and that's Portugal. So
they
I'm
suck.
a very objective.
I don't even have my team on the World Cup, but it's but we are sympathizers. We want this team to do well. But to your point, what I was most discouraged yesterday, and again, we're talking about, I don't like using this term, like I said last night, but there's clearly an A team and a B team, like we saw last night. Off the ball, I think the team lacked what the A team brought in the first 2 games. Pressure, high energy,
cohesion,
hair on fire. Like Diego Simeone likes to say, with the knife between your teeth. Normal, because this is a team, these 11 individuals don't have the reps that the A team now has. Now, I'm 100% sure that, again, the A team would have won this game last night. I have no doubt.
I mean, the B team almost did.
Right. But last night, for me, it was a reminder, and Matt touched on this, and I think he was spot on. There's a abyss between the starters and what we saw last night.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's not going to matter, probably, because the starters are going to back to being the starters. But yesterday, players that are supposed to be closer to the starter level
We're disappointing.
than to the B team level, like Gio Reyna, Team Weah, Ricardo Pepi, players that you're going to need from the bench if the game against Bosnia gets complicated, were not great last night. Yeah. And there's a point where the team that beat Paraguay and Australia playing great and making two good teams like Paraguay and Australia look bad, worse than they are, you're going to need those players, if the game gets complicated against Bosnia, from the bench to find solutions. And those are the first players that normally will come off the bench. Maybe it was just a one game. Maybe
it's also different game states. Coming in against a team
are going to play better when they're surrounded by better players
or
all
playing
around.
Against tired opponents.
Right.
Yeah.
But I have no doubt on this team against Bosnia. I think Bosnia is a better team than Turkey. I'm not talking about individual channeling. We can talk Bosnia a little bit more. But that's what I was trying to say last night. Maybe I didn't
I think,
say it.
Yeah, I think it's a fair takeaway, which is the like kind of line we all used was, well, do you want to create lineup controversy if guys come in and play well yesterday? And no one did that.
Right.
Literally,
Well, maybe Berhalter.
but not really, because he played out of position.
Well,
we know who he is.
Right.
He is the
He's not
next.
going to displace any of the guys.
He's
that are
the
there.
next guy up in
Yes.
central midfield. We already knew that. He's an option if you want to push Tillman higher or if you need to. And otherwise, the two best players yesterday were Weston McKennie and Christian Pulisic.
I think Berhalter has put himself on the shop window in this tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, he was before because of the way that he's played with Vancouver, but people still look at MLS, regardless of how much it's progressed as a league. People still have a little bit of a cynical perception about the league. One thing that I do want to add to your point is that Turkey comes into this game with something to prove as well.
Right.
And you saw that with the intensity and the aggressiveness in the first few minutes. They wanted to turn this match into a back alley fight. And the thing that, even though they won, I think the thing that really has impacted Turkey in this tournament is the same problem that afflicts Portugal. They aren't able to stretch the field. They can't stretch it. They have a lot of playmakers who like the ball to feet. Baris is the only guy who tries to stretch. He doesn't really have the quality. And then they're lacking a true number 9. Aktürkoğlu was the starter in the first two games for Turkey. He's really a positionless player. He's a second forward or he's a winger, and he's leading the line. So I think that we can look at this U.S. men's national team second team and make the statement that you made, that there's an abyss between them and the first team. But I also think it would be fair to say they are still playing against a quality team that has severely underperformed in this tournament.
I agree. Yeah.
Turkey, they're going to end up setting a couple of records of like expected goals, lack of goals, points, and all that stuff. We're going to do a bunch about Bosnia going forward. Quick thoughts, because I want to move into the next game of this group. Where it stands, the opportunity, it'll be at Levi Stadium. There will be a good chunk of Bosnia fans there. What do you make of this matchup?
I think Bosnia is a beatable team. I will say that the USA has probably the quote-unquote easiest path to go to quarterfinals. Certainly easier than Mexico, than all the considered like probably dark horses.
Yeah.
Now, for example, Morocco has to deal with the Netherlands in the round of 32. And when you get to round 16, as of now, you're looking at Egypt and South Korea. So before the tournament, you would have signed up for that immediately. But if you're Egypt and you're South Korea,
You're thinking the same
you were
thing.
Yeah.
thinking the same thing. So without going ahead, Bosnia, it's an organized team. It's compact. They have speed. And it's similar to Australia. They have two big guys, two big targets in the box that are going to create issues or potential issues to our center backs. Australia didn't get there because the USMNT didn't let Australia get there. They took control of the game immediately. They need to do the same because we already saw against Italy in the playoffs and against Canada, Bosnia can be the aggressor. They're not just going to hide and sit back the whole game. They have the quality and they're very organized.
Yeah, I completely agree. What's interesting is that if you watch Bosnia and you watch Paraguay, systemically very similar teams. Not only do they play in the 4-4-2, but the way they move their midfielders, the way they play their... in the 4-4-2, it's hard to call them wingers because they're not really wingers, but the wide players, Esmir Bayraktarovic, for example, who I've been a little bit disappointed is too strong a word, but he hasn't quite inspired me the way he did in qualifying. I think that Mauricio Pochettino looks at his players and says, look, this is Bosnia. We've studied them. This is what you can do. Guys, this is Paraguay 2.0. And take it from there. But don't underestimate them, essentially.
Alabegovic, who's 18 years old, RB Leipzig, winger on the other side from Bakterovic, probably stepped up bigger so far.
Yes, he has.
They're the two big threats. Demirovic, as you said, big center forward alongside Njeko.
Demirovic is a very good player.
And what we saw against Canada was, I think they came out, played the first 15 minutes, struggled with the intensity after that, and yet was a threat on every throw-in in the offensive half, threat on every set piece. And that's the stuff that won't go away. It will be you have to be locked in and tuned in for every single minute. So that game, as I said, will be on July 1st up in the Bay Area, South Bay, and we will preview it for you. On the other side of the group, Australia advances as the second-place team after a draw with Paraguay. The stats are... these two teams combined for less than one expected goal in this 0-0 draw. So it is the first time in this World Cup that has happened. It is actually not as rare over the last two World Cups as I expected. It happened multiple times in 2022. It happened multiple times in 2018. There was huge fears about what happened to Algeria in 1982 and teams playing to purposeful results and the advantage for both teams. It's been a debate point across the World Cup. It's been a debate point over the last 10 hours since this game happened. What do you make of the head-to-head situation, locking teams, the third-place teams, and maybe the way Australia, Paraguay, and maybe what we'll see from Algeria, Austria going forward played out?
I mean, you knew going into this game it was going to be a dud. But you knew it exactly for the reasons that you mentioned. Both teams would go into this match looking to win, but without taking too many risks. And that just so happens to be their MO anyway.
That's how they play.
That's how they play. So I'm clearly paying more attention to the U.S. men's national team game, and I have this game on my phone, and I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking, wow, it's playing out exactly as I expected.
The Japan-Sweden, which, we'll get into all these groups. Japan-Sweden was in a similar situation. Netherlands, where it was like, okay, if everyone draws, everyone's okay. Netherlands, it felt clear, was going to beat Tunisia, even when it got tight at 2-1. For Japan-Sweden, a draw was good enough for both of them. It's murderer's row through all of them. First place in that group picks up Morocco. Second place picks up Brazil. Third place probably picks up France. So it doesn't really matter. I guess I come out of both these games. I didn't feel like soccer wasn't played. I didn't feel like it was like an abuse to the game. No. Maybe I'm too naive about it, but it feels like that was everyone's worry, and I don't know that that's what played out.
No, I completely agree. I gotta say I didn't watch a second of the Netherlands game. I honestly think that Tunisia is the worst team in the
maybe.
Well,
Qatar is competitive.
If you're doing it's a toss-up. Qatar or Tunisia. At least Qatar, like you said, they try to play. They try to do something. The Netherlands find 2 goals on the first 7 minutes, and it's done. If you're doing a power ranking, I'm pretty sure Tunisia and Qatar are 47 and 48 or 48 and 47. So I watched Japan and Sweden, and what I saw is 2 teams that understood what was in play.
Yeah.
We can win the group, but we're not going to win the group.
Right.
Let's be careful, but let's not lose the game.
Right.
So I thought in some decision making in the final third, both teams you could see the nerves and the pressure and making bad decisions.
Especially Sweden.
Especially Sweden. Yeah. I think the last 2 games we've seen the Sweden more close to what they were in qualifiers, where they were absolutely dreadful, and they got into the playoffs by a Nations League that no one understands yet. So I think it was fair game for both, and the group got decided the way it should have been.
Jordan's going to kill me for this, but we're already here. Jordan, throw up 2 and 9 for me when you get a chance. So we're already in Group F convo. We were going to do Group E next, but we're here. Come on, let's just talk about it. So the Netherlands wins the group. They're on 7 points. That goal differential is always going to be a factor. Japan finishes second on 5 points. Sweden on the 4 points. Tunisia on 0. I don't know if you saw this post game. I missed it. So Anthony Elanga sits down, and when the game ends, he's smacking the ground. He thought they needed to win. Mm-hmm. He played to win. No one else did. And he played fantastic.
Scored a great goal.
He scores the goal. And Graham Potter after was like, oh, bless his heart, we told him. I actually think this is like pretty bad if you're Sweden, because clearly the messaging through the group is not fully there. I mean, to not know the game states is tough, but also like what a relief for Anthony Elanga that he gets back to the locker room and they're moving on to the next round most likely.
I do think both teams in the second half tried to win that game.
Yeah.
Japan were just a little bit better in the attacking third. The goal that they scored was one of my favorites in the first goal that they scored in that game was one of my favorites in the tournament so far, because it's like slicing and dicing through a back line. Great finish. They were trying that combination so many times throughout the game, but it didn't quite pan out. But I was watching at a bar here in the Lower East Side, and I had a bunch of Swedish fans behind me, and man, they were living every kick, and that also adds to the environment and to the feeling of the game. So I remember really enjoying the game.
Yeah.
The fact that they were invested probably, augmented that feeling.
Yeah.
But I didn't think that either one of these teams, while being cautious at times, thought, let's worry about not losing the match.
Sweden pushed for the win over the last 10 minutes, and in doing that, they opened themselves up to the counterattack, but also to the mentality for Japan of well, if you're going to try and beat us and knock us down out of the second place, then we're going to go win it.
It was a very physical
Sweden
game
did not
too.
play. Here's my frustration with Japan. I think they're so confident and settled in their combination play and their set attack that they slow transition moments back to recover and reset possession and try and create those overload moments or try and create those rotations. And it slows their game. And it takes away moments, which is if you press me and I break you, I got to go because I now have an advantage. And I feel like so often outside of my guy, Keito Nakamura, who is, I've said, my spirit animal and I'm obsessed with, everyone else holds up play. Whether it's Doan, whether it's Maeda, Ueda, whoever it is, they hold up play. They let the numbers come back around them, including their teammates. And then they start to reset and try the next rotation and try the next move. And I just think that's where they get themselves in trouble is you're leaving all these transition moments on the table that can be easier goals. And now you have to say to yourself, and they'll go against Brazil, now you have to break down Marquinhos. Now you have to break down a set defense. It's the hardest thing to do in the game. And I feel like Japan invites it on themselves too often.
Ueda was on an island most of the game, fighting through, trying to start himself defensive transition. And then he picks up he's the number 9.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be on the wing trying to start something, and then he picks up his head trying to find a connector. And like you said, Nakamura is not there, Maeda is not there. Kamada is a very offensive player, and they were playing very deep in yesterday. So Japan I think the connection between in the final third it's got lost against Sweden, and against Brazil you're gonna need much more to do better.
Although I will say this about Japan, Brazil, the double pivot of Tanaka and Kamada, even in those deeper roles, in maintaining possession and being able to fend off a press, is so good.
Yeah.
One of my favorite combos in the tournament so far.
And it's going to be huge because what we talked about with Doyle yesterday is Brazil's greatest threat right now is their counter press, is their press, is their out of possession play, Vinicius and all of that. If you can blunt that by playing through it, then you have opportunities to then go break them team down. It's just everything feels hard for Japan in the attack.
Right.
And you can only go so far in a tournament where everything feels hard unless Cesc Fabregas is coming off the bench as your false 9, right? That's the model you're following is what 2010 Spain did. And they had the 15 best players on the planet.
And the weak point of Brazil is that double pivot with Casemiro and Guimaraes. If you put pressure on them, you can create chaos and hurt Brazil. But what we saw from Japan yesterday, I don't see how Japan can do that to Brazil midfield.
For the Netherlands side, I know you said it was a little bit decided. Early goals. Brian Broby gets another one. I believe he is now tied for the record, which is he has 3 goals on his first 3 World Cup shots. So all 3 times in his opening 2 games to the World Cup, he's put the ball in the back of the net. He also helped force the own goal for the opening goal, which was 3 minutes into this game. And it feels like Netherlands have found something here with him being the center forward. Mm-hmm. I still think Somerville deserves a shot in Malin's spot along the right side. I think Malin and Gakpo are both wide finishers, and it's 3 finishers and no creators in the attack. But for this Netherlands team that came in with a lot of question marks, Eric, it feels like a really good group stage for them.
Yeah, nobody had them on the contenders' radar.
No.
And I don't think that had to do so much with the level of talent at their disposal, even though I think they lack in certain areas. It was all about Ronald Koeman. Was he going to be too conservative in this tournament?
And he was in the first game.
Absolutely. Even though Japan in that first game sat back and absorbed. Mm-hmm. I
think we saw it in the Sweden game too. I think Japan just starts slow too. It takes them like 20 minutes, except for Tunisia.
Warm up and get those passes zipping around.
Rondos.
Absolutely. That's my experience as a player anyway. But they've really surprised. But I think that they've done something that I've actually seen a lot of in this tournament, which is focus on wide play. Get the ball wide and cross it into a dangerous area, right?
Yeah.
And for a long time in modern football, and Doyle will probably say, yeah, but the
Doyle getting dinged when he's not here. Suck it, Doyle.
No, because he's right about it. The what's the word that I'm going for when you turn like a cross into a shot or a goal scoring opportunity? The conversion rates are very, very low, right? And so teams that have become so metric conscious have refrained from crossing the ball too often. In tournaments, I love to see crosses, right? You're talking about players at the back who haven't played together for very long. Number one, you don't have the same sort of cohesiveness, and chaos is such a big part of tournaments, and crosses create chaos. And I think that has been the successful blueprint for the Netherlands in this tournament.
I think there's a difference between, what Pep created is the pullback, which is different than a cross because it's on the ground from a tighter area. This is an in-between space where with the wide forwards coming inside, pulling a defender, it's Dumfries on the edge of the box, ball on the ground across bodies versus deep cross against a set defense that they can set their feet and head out and all that stuff.
And that's smart from Koeman because that's exactly what Dumfries does for Inter, right? In a very different shape, but it's successful.
Yeah, and he is elite at that one thing, and they are playing to their strengths on that side of the field and moving things around. So both of these teams, of course, will move on to the next round. We know it will be Netherlands-Morocco, which is absolutely insane. So that game will be in Monterrey. What a vibe that's going to be. That's going to be one of the great games of the round. And then on the flip side, Brazil-Japan will be in Houston. So an indoor game for that one and an opportunity for those teams to maybe move the ball a little bit. And then we still wait on Sweden to see who they will play. There's a very strong chance that if Norway comes out on top of their group later today, it would be Norway-Sweden, which for the Norwegians who, their coach said it was the greatest moment in the country's soccer history earlier this week when they beat Senegal, I think beating Sweden in a knockout game. I could say as a U.S. fan that took out Mexico in 2002 in our furthest run ever, it's one that never goes away. Like you always have that. But obviously Haaland already said they'd lose to France, so it won't be a big factor.
But I love that. I love that because that's a very smart comment to make.
Because you have nothing to lose then?
You have nothing to lose. It takes pressure off of your shoulders. By the way, going back to just the crosses, something that absolutely needs to be said, and you already touched on it. I don't think those crosses are as successful if you don't have a guy like Broby in the middle, just because he is such a physical presence. He is so aggressive. And with other center forwards who can't add to that chaos,
Yeah.
who can't muscle their way in the box, you're not going to be able to convert.
And a lot of the openings that come start with into his feet.
Yes.
He has been the best center forward holding off center backs and holding up the game. It sucks everyone in. It opens up those gaps and lets them play. Let's finish off the recap from yesterday with the best game of the day. We had Group E action. We knew coming into it that Germany had already clinched their spot. Ivory Coast felt fairly safe, sitting in second on 3 points. Ecuador and Curacao coming in towards the bottom on 1 point, and it was all the work left to do for Ecuador and Curacao to try and save a spot in the knockout rounds. One of the dark horses coming in to the tournament was Ecuador, and what a freaking day for them. It was MetLife Stadium. It was yellow. We thought it would be, and it was. Ecuador comes from behind thanks to an opening goal scored by Leroy Sané, and then 2 goals for a Ecuadorian team that had scored 0 goals so far this tournament. And it was just like massive relief. I mean, your coach is jumping into the stands to hug his wife during the game still. It worried me a bit. That's not really like, oh, we're mentally locked in, but it just showed you how big of a release it was when those 2 goals went in.
We saw the potential, right? We saw Ecuador's potential that we all thought, at least, well, I don't want to speak for Eric, but you and me were very high. Very, very high.
They were my dark horse. They're losing me all sorts of points in all these office pools. Yeah.
Before the World Cup, we believe that this Ecuador has like semifinal
Football
potential.
Manager believed
Football
it.
Manager put us winning the World Cup or in the final against the US.
They had them in 2 finals.
I don't know. Football Manager believe in Ecuador. We believe in Ecuador. So, yeah, Ecuador. I think it has 0 goals on over 4 XG or something
it was
like
them
that.
And Turkey were right in line with each other.
Historically bad. So, well, first of all, the shocker of Germany playing the older starters.
Yeah.
From the beginning, I think that took everyone by surprise.
A point as well that Pochettino made sure to touch on because of the momentum conversation.
Yeah,
he said, look at Germany.
Yeah.
They played with their starters. They lost momentum, you know. So, sorry. Go ahead.
Congrats, Poch. We love you. This is the potential of Ecuador. And the criticism that this team had coming to the World Cup and during qualifiers, it's that from their own media, their own fans, it's like, yeah, they qualified as third in CONMEBOL, but we didn't score a lot of goals. They had a 19 winning game winning streak before they lost their last game. But out of those 19, 9 of them was 0-0.
Yeah.
So they clearly had issues scoring goals from qualifiers. And the criticism that I've heard and talked with people that cover this team, are from Ecuador or know this team better, is that his coach, it's too conservative sometimes. And we saw it with his lineup choices in the first 2 games. On this game that he needed to win, for example, putting as a starter Nilson Angulo, who scored the first goal, they went for it. Yeah. And this is what we're waiting for Ecuador for a long time. And we saw that when they need to go for it, Germany was qualified. That's fine. But it was Germany's A team that has to count for something. Again, we saw the potential, and now I'm worried for my Mexico on round of 32 because Ecuador, it's a team that I don't think anyone wants to see, especially as a third place, because you're thinking Bosnia, you're thinking teams at that level. Ecuador is it's on a next level. Ecuador is on a dark horse Morocco level, in my opinion, and I think you share that.
So what's interesting to me is, for all the like threat and what they can bring, whatever, it wasn't that much different than the other 2 games. They hit the crossbar twice in the first game. They hit the post the third time. I mean, they put everything out there against Curacao. Some of the personnel was different, which I think is
you had more quality. You put on the field more quality to finish.
For sure. But like in general, they played. It's just sometimes the ball goes in the net and sometimes the ball doesn't.
They were unfortunate. Look, before this tournament, Ecuador were my number 1 dark horse by far because of their defensive record. I also quite like Becasese. It's, I covered his teams in Argentina, Defensa y Justicia. I called their final win against Palmeiras in the Recopa. So I have a little bit of an affection for him.
Bielsista.
Yes, very Bielsista. Very Bielsista. But more than Bielsa, Sampaoli was his big.
My family went to the game.
I don't think that's a compliment.
No, but it's the defensive side of things, and also the way the heat map in the technical area.
I was going to say, my family went to
the
the game yesterday, and they texted after. They said, "So what's the deal with the Ecuador coach?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "What do you mean?" They were just in line with him in the upper deck, and they were like, "He just doesn't stop moving, yelling." And I was like, he's Bielsa light, but really Sampoli. But also, it's like 80% for nothing. Like, he's yelling at no one. No one can hear him. Just suck it up.
I would be that kind of guy. If I would be. I was even with like U18s at Manhattan Soccer Club here in New York, so I understand.
Whoa, Timothy Chalamet? That's his club.
Well, there are others too.
Alex
Kessler, Schaffelberg.
There you go.
There are a lot. The academy does well. But going back to the crux of this team, they are the perfect blend of technical ability and athleticism, and they are very athletic. And what's interesting is I was watching this game with one of my closest friends who's a coach. He's a deputy director at Manhattan Soccer Club. I don't think that's deputy is the exact title.
Oh, they're getting real pub here.
But you know what I mean. And he said something to me that was really interesting as the game was developing. He said, "You know what I noticed is the biggest difference between Germany now and Germany in the past? Yes, they seem to have a lot of they have a lot of ability. I mean, the attacking riches that they have, second to none, maybe to France. But they don't have that physically imposing style that they used to have, where they had that great blend of the physicality and the skill. And that's what Ecuador has. And I think that combination was so important yesterday as they took the game to Germany, particularly in that second half as they were looking for the goal.
I would say most of the chances Ecuador ended up getting, including the first goal and then the chance that leads to the corner kick, were all 50-50 wins in true 50-50 moments, not 70-30, I should win this. It was, I want to tackle, and because you don't expect me to win this tackle, you're in a tough moment. And Ecuador started to push into transition. They kept doing it after they were up 2-1, which I thought made sense because I thought they should pad their goal differential. I think I was wrong about that, and everyone else in the world, including Landon Donovan and Ian Dark, mentioned it 1,000 times on the broadcast, and I was like, no, go score. And then I realized on 4 points you were probably safe anyway, so it didn't matter. But I totally agree with you in that Ecuador wins their 1v1 battles better than anyone, and they do it in both ways. It's Hincape and Pacho and all of that, where when they're under pressure, you think you're going to break into the box for a pullback, they win that tackle, and now they're getting out of it.
Even Gonzalo Plata. Who's not the most physical player. But for me, a guy whose ceiling is so high and he's not anywhere close to fulfilling his potential. But in this game, he did in every way. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, and then the other big piece that happened was Kevin Rodriguez comes on as a target center forward. They play off him a little bit. It helps lead to the goal. Ener Valencia is the best goal scorer on this team because there's not a good goal scorer on this team. But Ener Valencia at this age is not a great player. And I don't think his spot should be set in stone.
Agreed.
And I think there should be and it could be that Rodriguez plays with Valencia, right? Like, Valencia is not your target hold-up guy. And if you get him facing forward around goal, he'll get shots off and he could score. So it feels like some of this stuff was set in stone for this team, that there could be more flexibility, and that's Angulo coming into the team as well. I still have been yelling over and over, I don't know why Preciado doesn't play more. I think he gives more threat than Yeboah down the right side.
100%. I mean, he's a fullback, though. Preciado is a fullback. But he adds
flies
a different
forward.
Dynamism.
Estupiñán.
Estupiñán as well. He gets one
He
start.
just had a bad season. That's the only
but
thing.
still,
But when you're at the point where you can't score,
you need to score.
Yes.
Like Estupiñán, it's a great left wing back that gives you another level. It's the frustration we've been talking about that, and that's with Ecuador. Ecuador is elite, probably the best defensive team on the planet.
Yeah,
and they're elite everywhere except at finishing. I want to take this game real quick. A little rant that I have with some of this referee stuff that we have, if you allow me. This is not a Tory Penso.
I'm glad you're taking it there.
Not Tory Penso. Not Tory Penso criticism. I want to make clear. But I'm also going to take the Ghana-England game as an example. Mm-hmm. Referees. Ref the game. Mm-hmm. Make decisions. Don't let it go and wait for VAR. It's unbelievable that, for example, the PK against Ghana wasn't called on the field. It's unbelievable that the foul that leads, you don't agree, but in my opinion,
I'm on the other side of this one.
That the foul of Germany's goal, kick to the face, wasn't called. Then it's unbelievable that Wait. Ecuador, Ener Valencia gets fouled. No, Moises Caicedo gets fouled. A clear foul.
Yeah.
Everybody saw it, and it's not called. And then Germany scores, and then VAR has to fix it.
This was the penalty kick. They got a penalty kick.
The penalty kick to Havertz.
Yeah.
I think the referees are letting it go and then waiting. Oh, if the VAR doesn't call me, it's fine. No. You should ref the game, make the decisions, and if your decision is wrong, that's when VAR comes and fixes it. But I think the referees are letting plays go and not make decisions of fear of making a mistake. No, you should not be afraid of making a mistake because you are the ref. If you make a mistake, that's where VAR should come in and fix it.
Well, you can if you kill play. That's the thing, right? If they kill play.
Man, yesterday, like.
Okay, here's my thing. Let's go into this. Alec Pavlovich chests the ball. The ball comes out in front of him. It's above his legs. It's his ball. He's in possession. He lifts his leg high. He touches the ball, and then Pedro Vite sticks his head in to make a challenge.
He didn't stick his head in.
He sticks his head in. The ball's above Pavlovich's leg, and Vite sticks his head in.
You know you are the only person on the planet.
I'm not
that
the
is
only person.
offending.
Theo agrees with me, and Theo's a Germany fan, so you know he's honest about this. And this one drives me nuts as well because when players go to shoot, right, where you push the ball out in front of you, but your shoulders are over the ball and you wind up, and someone steps in between your foot and the ball, and you kick their foot, it's a foul on you. Even though in my mind, that's your possession, right? It's your moment that they're coming in. I see that
one a little bit
so
more.
So that's the one that I feel that this is. Yeah. I don't think it was a foul. The fact that Landon couldn't analyze the goal because it was such a foul, as if it was his world's crumbling down, was absurd. And all of you are soft and you're cheats.
Whoa!
You know that the
attacks.
foul that I think ultimately saves Torrey Pence in that game, the one that then rescinds the penalty that was awarded, was exactly like the foul in the Argentina Austria game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that ultimately leads to the Messi goal. And my conclusion from seeing a lot of those not called throughout this tournament, and also then something that one of the commentators said, I don't know whether I was watching it in Spanish or in English, that there had been in the meetings that the referees have, there had been an emphasis on allowing the game to flow. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what you're seeing. I agree with you in sentiment. You see the foul, call the foul. But I wonder if there is a pressure there to not call certain things that maybe you're a little unsure about in order to allow the game to have some fluency.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. If you think it's a foul, call the foul.
Also,
and in the end, I think that decision saves her.
Also, if you call it early in a game, the assumption is the players adjust, and then you don't end up calling 18, 27 fouls because the players have just.
Had that not been corrected, and Germany get that penalty, there would have been hell to pay because of the first goal.
2-0 Ecuador is done.
Yeah.
So my point is, I agree with you. Letting it go, and we saw it with the assistant. If you're not sure, or if you know it, or if you think you know it, you want to let it go.
Yeah.
Because then the VAR can intervene. But situations like this, like the foul to Moises Caicedo, it's so clear that I in this case, I just don't get it why the refs are not more certain to call something that is so clear and it's right there.
Yeah, and I will say this. I believe that for the most part, this tournament has been very well reffed.
I agree, yes.
100%. What's the name of the CONCACAF referee who reffed the game?
Ivan Barton.
I thought Barton had a good game yesterday.
Ivan Barton has some serious Napoleon syndrome.
The first game he reffed in this tournament was a disaster. He lost control of whatever game. And so the narrative coming in was, it's Barton, it's Barton. I thought he was fine in this game. I'm just picking him just because Barton is a conversation starter when it comes to refereeing in this region. But there have been some decisions in this tournament that, for me, are just total head scratchers. That foul in the Austria-Argentina game and what you just mentioned. The Ghana-England refereeing was absolutely disastrous. How that's not a penalty and potentially a red card because there's no attempt from Konza to go for the ball is just beyond me.
That's the perfect example of I wanted, and again, I'm sorry if I'm too fixated with yesterday because it's the last, it's what we saw last, right? But the not PK called and red card, not potential red card, for Ghana, it's the perfect example of my point, that refs sometimes are afraid to make the decision. They say, well, if I don't make a call here, I'm backed.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to be safe
if
by
I don't
VAR.
kill the play and lose it. Yeah.
They're like afraid to make a mistake and then being called out by VAR.
Yes.
Man, ref the game.
I am so glad Connor is, I think, going to the game in Foxborough today because he can't be outside telling us we're going too long about this. I would like to add, though, that today is a national holiday in Ecuador. So they've got time to watch us on First Touch. They've got nowhere to go. It's been officially declared.
They're too busy recovering from their hangovers.
Exactly. A national holiday. The president, Daniel Noboa, thanked the team. He said, thank you to the players and coach who, despite the criticism, the insults, and the tough times they went through, managed to bounce back and bring this immense joy to the entire country. And this was a little bit what we talked about with Canada and the U.S., the matchup, which is, for Ecuador, it saved their World Cup. It gets them to the knockout rounds. They have an opportunity now to go forward. But also, Ecuador just beat Germany. For a team that is not a world power, for a team that, for everything they did in qualifying, has not been to a Copa America final, has not been to a Copa America semifinal. They have not won trophies. They don't have a history at this high level. There is still inferiority complex with a lot of what's happening. The Independiente de Valle stuff has obviously shifted things really quickly. LDU Quito has won some Copa Libertadores. Mm-hmm. There's been moments where the country can challenge 06, 02. There was a bit of a golden generation, but beating Germany in a World Cup is already everything for this country. And I think that's where you see in the reactions from the fans in North America who already live here or who have traveled, and then also in the country to have a national holiday after this victory and now moving on to play Mexico. This is what the World Cup's about. And I think you really felt it yesterday. You saw it in the reactions. I mean, again, having your coach climb up into the stance twice.
And last point on Becasese.
Is he gone?
He was already a polarizing figure in Ecuador in the qualification process. Then, before the game against Germany, I made the joke that he's an Argentine. He'll never be allowed in Ecuador again. Now, he's going to be given the key to the country.
Yeah.
You know, how quickly things change in the World Cup.
And the reports are he's taken the Chile job already. I assume that he was Sampaoli's assistant there.
He was, yep.
I think the connection to the country for him is very close. So I think from a lifestyle point of view, he wants to live there. So I assume that still happens. But yeah, on the other side, by the way, Curacao leaving us at the World Cup. Incredible experience. Obviously, the draw against Ecuador, massive. Eli Room setting the record. And in the loss to Ivory Coast, Yan Diomande, I mean, he's going to win Young Player of this tournament. I think this is a team that can continue to go far, and so I think he's someone we're going to see for a little while. They are waiting for the runner-up of Group I to get into the World Cup, which I believe will be France or Norway. Am I right about that? Yes, I am right about that. So they will play France or Norway in the next round. Either way, it's going to be a wild one, but a more rotation from this team, some of it required because of injury, some of it not. Nicolas Pepe has been really good.
He really has.
In this tournament. The finish was good. He created the chance. It should have been an assist against Germany to win the game.
He's got something to prove as well.
He's played with spark. He's played on the front foot for the first time in a really long time, it feels like.
He reminded me, in this tournament, he's reminded me of the Nicolas Pepe who played for Lille.
Yeah.
Which is the reason Arsenal broke the coffers for and never quite lived up to the billing. You know what's interesting? This team is so good. This Ivory Coast team, under the radar coming in. Everybody was focused on Senegal, which I have a lot of issues with in the way that they've approached this World Cup. But the fact that you can bring Ousmane Diomande, the center back, as your third string center back on this team just shows you just how deep the Ivory Coast are. Côte d'Ivoire.
Special group, special team. So they will move on, as I said, in second place. Ecuador has locked their spot because of the 4 points they are on. All right. Let's dig into what we have to come here today. We've got 3 more groups that will close up action. We've got Group I, we've got Group H, and we've got Group G. For Group I, it's a little bit interesting. Norway and France have already clinched their spots on 6 points. Senegal and Iraq are playing for a bit of a miracle to try and get through as a third-place team. It is much more likely for Senegal than Iraq with the way things have fallen. I think Iraq would at worst, have to win 3-0 to have a shot at getting to the next round, which feels somewhat unlikely. And then for Senegal, right now, if they get a victory, there's a pretty good chance they get through. They would move to that -2 goal differential. They'd be tied with South Korea. They'd be ahead of Scotland. They'd be in a driver's seat as the best third-place team, and most likely would move on to play the winner of England's group, which would be England or Ghana or Croatia. We don't know yet. So the Norway-France game, what do you do if you're these two teams? How do you handle this one if you're... let's start with France, who have probably more options, and then Norway, who they, similar to the U.S., have 7 players who need to be on the field in your biggest games. And do you worry about rust or do you worry about rest?
If there's an abyss when it comes to the U.S. men's national team in terms of the talent disparity between first and second team, what are we going to call the disparity between the Norwegian first team and second team? Is there even a second team to this Norwegian national team? Because I would say that this Norwegian side is greater than the sum of its parts. I mean, there are players on Norway in Norway's 11 who are not good enough to be on a national team. Maybe I don't think Berge, for example, is a very good player, the Fulham center mid, but he's very effective in this system. If you pull out some pieces from this Norway side, I think they get trounced by France. I really do.
Yeah, I completely agree. What would I do? I think both teams are gonna go out with their best. I don't think France wanna even. I mean,
would you start Barcola? Would you start Zaire Emery? Would you start these guys who
Barcola
legitimately
started the last game as well?
Well, I'm saying then Doué, Barcola. Would you start the guys who legitimately deserve to start for a national team?
I mean, France, you can make 3 teams, 3 A teams out of it. I will stick with my best 11, the one that I've been playing, and try to resolve the match in the first half. And then you can start rotating. And same thing with I think both teams have or should have 2 mentally distinct approach to this game. And we already saw about Haaland. He already said out loud what the Norwegians feel. Maybe we have 0.01% of winning this game, right? But it doesn't change anything. The mission of advancing,
it's accomplished.
It's accomplished. And before the tournament, everybody would have signed France first, Norway second. If we can pull a miracle, great. If not, let's take a chance. France, on the other way, should be more concerned, and this is what I'm saying, just go with your best, try to resolve the game, because if you're France, you're the one that has the pressure of getting the result and winning the group, because that's what everybody's expecting. And also, it guarantees you a better place in the bracket because of the way FIFA made the bracket of France, Spain, Argentina, and who's the fourth? England don't meet each other until semifinal. So I think
I like that everyone thought Spain was going to be the one that threw that off. I think there's a chance it's England. I think if England drops a result against Panama here, they may not. They wouldn't finish in first place in
Panama
their group.
Played well in their last game.
Los Canaleros are in the city because that game's in New York, and I've been repping them. 4 England fans walked by while me and my Mexican friend were waiting for our breakfast sandwich, and I yelled, "Oh, England!" And they turned to me. I said, "Vamos Los Canaleros," and they were. And the guy literally goes, "Nah, mate." Like, couldn't believe that. That's who I was going to say.
You're just gagging for a fight. That's what.
Hey, I'm here and I'm ready for it.
I think Norway put out their starters in this game. I thought they were really fortunate against Senegal. Senegal looked good. Again, made some boneheaded, naive decisions on the ball, which was what hurt them against France, until France turned on the Jets in the second half as well. So I want to watch this one just to see. I want to watch all these games. But I'm intrigued just to see who finishes in first place, but also in Norway's approach. Because as you said, when you have the embarrassment of riches that France has, I don't think Deschamps will tweak that much. From my experience, he's not somebody who really changes too much.
I
when
think
it comes
France
to
is going to go out with the best they have.
Right. So the question is whether he starts Desiree Doué or he continues to go with Barcola. He's never going to touch his midfield. I'd be very surprised if he took Tchouaméni and his favorite player, whose name escapes me, AC Milan center mid.
Adrien Rabiot.
Rabiot. Rabiot is his guy. And Rabiot gets a lot of stick. I love Rabiot. I'd love to have a player like him in midfield.
So I think
we're going to see the two forces going at each other. And I do believe that this is where Norway will be found out a little bit in this tournament.
So reminder, the winner of this group will get a third place team. They would then be lined up that will be in New Jersey. They would then be lined up to a round of 16 in Philadelphia against the winner of Germany versus a third place team. The runner up in this group will get Ivory Coast in Texas, and then they would play a round of 16 against the winner of Brazil, Japan in New Jersey as well. So not a ton of travel. Obviously, the one game in Texas, but not a ton of travel for these two teams that are base camped in the Northeast. And at this point, it's just like murderer's row either way you go. So that's all a bit of a factor. Now, for Senegal and Iraq, so 4 teams are already locked into 4 points. Sweden, Ecuador, Bosnia-Herzegovina, and Paraguay. So 4 of the 8 spots are there. Neither of Iraq or Senegal can get up to 4 points. The best they can do is 3. So you're already at that line. South Korea and Scotland have already played. They're both on 3 points. South Korea, -1 goal differential. Scotland, -3. Senegal comes into this one already on -3 goal differential. So to win, they'd have to push to -2. If they win by 2 goals, they would jump South Korea, and they put themselves in an okay spot. Here's the problem for them. Everyone else left plays after them. So you don't know what you need to do to jump a DR Congo. You don't know what you need to do to jump a Belgium or a Cape Verde. Now, all those are on different points. Cape Verde would only be if they drew and came into a tie with them. I think the fear is that Group G, you don't know who's going to fall to third place. Is Iran going to get a draw? Is New Zealand going to get a win? Whatever happens will throw things off. So for Senegal, they're in kind of this blind spot. You have to win first. Yeah. And then at that point, you kind of have to try and rack up as much as you can.
And that's very clearly the message. Go out there and put a hurting on Iraq. Yeah. Easier said than done, right? Iraq hasn't been super poor in this tournament, but we know that Senegal has the arguments to do that to this team. What they have to avoid is shooting themselves in the foot, which is what they've done all tournament long.
It's shooting themselves in the foot. I will say they do need to be more dangerous in the chances they create. I would potentially look at dumping Nicholas Jackson out of the starting lineup, putting Ismail Sarr in that center forward position, or just putting Sadio Mane in that center forward position.
Mane's not done very much.
But he's out wide trying to take guys on 1v1. Yeah. And what I said, I think, on the show was you look at what Mohamed Salah has done for Egypt. He's not Salah anymore. He can't. Right. He does, I mean, he literally lost a foot race to Michael Boxall. That's the world we live in now. But he's also scored a goal and had an assist because he's a soccer genius, and he's playing inside and he's around the game. And I think Mane's isolated out wide doesn't help Senegal. And Jackson's had his chances. He has had his chances in both games. He has not put them away. Sarr put them away in the last game. Mane, if you give him the opportunity, could potentially, and you can't waste in this one. So the other option is change the shape up a little, get Sarr closer to goal permanently so he doesn't have to come in off the wing and give you those chances. But there's a lot to play for here for Senegal, and obviously, as I said, they won't know what it all means. Let's move to Group H action. We've got Cape Verde taking on Saudi Arabia and Uruguay taking on Spain. So Spain, Cabo Verde, and Uruguay all with a pretty good chance to advance. In theory, Saudi Arabia, if they were to win, they would clinch a spot in the next round because they'd be on 4 points, which would push them into that top group of at least the third place teams, if not second place in this group, depending on how Spain and Uruguay goes. Let's start with the big story. Uruguay have been underwhelming. They are a world power. They've returned to that status under Jose Pekerman over the last 20 years. The idea was Bielsa would elevate it even further.
Tabarez.
What did I say?
Uruguay?
Oh, I said Pekerman. Yeah, which is Colombia. Sorry. Yeah. Bielsa is a bit of a vibe. He's an experience. It doesn't always go great. And when it goes poorly, it goes terribly.
Yeah.
It has gone poorly so far, and reports are already coming out that what we're seeing on the field is classic Bielsa behind the scenes, which is arguments and fights between the players and him, and a lot of questions about loyalty and where we stand. And there's a chance that after today they lose and it all comes out that this whole thing has been a mess.
Are we talking about Love Island or Uruguay?
It's talking about Bielsa Island.
It's gonna come out, especially if they get eliminated at any point that they're gonna eventually get eliminated. Bielsa is gonna leave the team, and of course that when he leaves the team, then everything is gonna explode. So the thing with Bielsa is that he wears thin very, very fast. And if things are not going well on the field, that becomes even, that accelerates the eventual explosion. The last 2 World Cups, Russia and Qatar, working for Univision and TUDN, I had the opportunity to have ex-Bielsa players, ex-Argentinian players as analysts and talking with them about him. And
Not 1995 Atlas players?
No. And they don't have great things to say because Bielsa is a hard coach, and the longer it goes, that message and that attitude wears thin. I think Bielsa, and especially those Argentinian players that were around of the 2002 team, we were talking about this before the show. In my opinion, the most talented Argentinian team that I've seen in my lifetime, with Hernan Crespo y Batistuta at their peaks.
Pochettino
As a center mid, but you have Ortega Verón, Juan Pablo Sorín, Javier Zanetti at their peak, and that team flame out at group stage.
Yeah.
Because Hernan Crespo was on the bench. It was friction between Crespo and Bielsa that lead to players that wanted Crespo on the field to then turn on Bielsa, et cetera, et cetera. So we're seeing that with Uruguay right now, and it affecting the team on the field. Now, the other thing that I'm extra interested to see is that whoever finished second on this group faces Argentina on the round of 32. As of now, it's Uruguay. And having an Argentina-Uruguay on round of 32
fantastic.
with Bielsa in the middle of everything would be the best storyline so far in the World Cup. But can you imagine that Uruguay beats Spain and we have Spain-Argentina in the round of 32?
Even better.
Even better. So that's what I'm looking for out of this game. What Uruguay is going to show on the field after the reports of the meeting and the confrontation with Bielsa. But who's going to face Argentina on round of 32?
The 2 things out of the meeting conversation that we've seen, and for anyone who doesn't know, Marcelo Bielsa is this genius of a manager.
That hasn't won anything.
He's never won anything. He's changed the way the game's perceived. Pep Guardiola considers him a mentor. Many other coaches. I mean, we talked about
He's got
Sampaoli.
just like Guardiola, Bielsa has his own coaching tree.
Yes. Now, Bielsa is sort of like an eccentric person.
Yeah, mad professor
and there's many stories of what happens. One that always comes is loyalty. He's very obsessed with loyalty, and one of the things that seems to be complaints about this Uruguay team is Ronald Araujo's different guys he has shown loyalty to who are not healthy, and he brought them to the World Cup, and he's put the team behind the 8 ball. And this, out of the reports we are getting, is one of the things he was questioned for, and he responded back saying, like, you guys don't respect loyalty. These players have shown loyalty to me more than you have. And he went back and spoke, apparently, about how when Luis Suarez tried to come back into the team, players were pushing the federation to push Bielsa to bring him back. And Bielsa said, none of you stood with me except these guys. That's why they're here. So that's already a bad situation. The other is, Bielsa was brought in to expand Uruguay's style. That they have become who they are, which was, we are one of the best defensive teams on the planet. We have great center forwards. We'll score against the run of play. We'll score in transition.
It's all transitional football,
Can we become more progressive? Can we attack the game? And apparently, the complaint from the players right now is, we want to sit in a low block and hit in transition, especially against Spain.
Understandable against Spain.
Yeah.
Understandable. You know, what's interesting about beyond the reports of what's been happening for months now behind closed doors with this team is that Bielsa has a very identifiable footballing blueprint. But we haven't seen that from Uruguay. When I watch them, I don't really know what they're doing. And Maxi Araujo, who's been one of the outstanding players of the tournament, has saved their rear ends. So I understand, apparently, Valverde was the one who stood up to him and asked to play in a deeper block and play in transition. By the way, I don't know if you saw the latest reports. This just came out, but Bielsa enlisted the help of Aurélien Tchouameni to come into camp to punch Valverde. Have you seen that? So that could help the situation. Send Valverde to the hospital for a couple of days. But I completely understand the desire to return to the identity that made Uruguay so successful under Oscar Tabarez. And I, like you mentioned Bielsa as being a genius. I've said this loudly, but never on air. I've never quite understood the obsession with Bielsa, not only because he's never won anything, but also because his style of football fizzles out over time.
Yeah.
You cannot maintain that sort of football. So I think this is going to be a total implosion in this game. I think they're going to end up facing Argentina, and it's going to be an implosion in that match as well.
I think they'll be lucky to get through. I mean, you see Lamine Yamal come back into this Spanish team. The insertion of Dani Olmo, whether he's in there. I mean, Yamal's the difference. The Saudi Arabia game, Saudi Arabia made mistakes, gets them in transition.
Yep.
He's the best player in the team. He gives them a plan B.
Yep.
For all the possession and everything. He can beat guys 1v1. He can create his own chances.
Just ask Ferran Torres what it's like playing with him and without him.
He's one of the best 5 players on the planet. And if this Uruguay team comes into this game the way it feels, which is it's been disjointed for 2 games, we're hearing it's disjointed outside the field. It feels very unlikely that they come in and play a cohesive game. And if that's the case, if they're a mess, Spain will pick them apart.
I think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's
I think Cape Verde will get the result they need, and I think Uruguay will be outside looking in as a third place team.
Unless
with 2 points you're done.
Yeah.
I mean, if Uruguay loses the game and Cape Verde gets 1 point against Saudi Arabia, Uruguay's done.
Yeah. The only scenario where I could think that Uruguay would be successful is if the players have a meeting
100%.
by themselves and go, listen,
well, we're going to play our way.
This is what we're going to do, okay? I would say that there's a very good chance that has already happened.
If that happens, is there any odds you think when the 90-minute whistle blows,
Bielsa walks away?
He's not even there.
Yeah.
Like he's already walked away.
Yeah.
I mean, he's done stuff like this. Marseille, he was out in 6 weeks, right? When he was at Marseille, he was fired in 6 weeks. He left the team.
I think it was less than that. And Lazio was 2 days or 1 day.
Lazio, he didn't even show up.
Oh, this is why he hates him so much.
I was lucky. I was just like, please no. Please no. So before taking Marseille, he had an agreement, a signed contract with Lazio. He didn't show up. When preseason started. I think what we saw with Spain, and after the game, we had this discussion about now coming, like you said, Lamine Yamal, Dani Olmo. We saw the real Spain. Mm-hmm. I think France and Spain are on a different galaxy than the rest of this tournament. And I think Spain's going to blow the head off Uruguay today.
So the other exciting thing today is Cabo Verde can play. And they've had to play deep blocks. They've had to play in transition. That's not the soccer that they would choose to play all the time. And now against Saudi Arabia, it's their chance to show it. They're never going to get a better chance at a World Cup to go through to the knockout rounds than they are today.
This could be one of the better games of the tournament because both these teams are going to take it to each other.
Yeah,
because they have to win.
It's going to be fun, and I hope Cabo Verde comes through. You know, one thing that I said about that game against Spain, a lot of people talked about how they defended, and they defended valiantly, and Vozinha obviously was very good in between the sticks. But when they were in possession, the 20% of the time, they tried to play out.
Yes,
they didn't kick the ball forward. And in doing so, that stifled the Spanish even more because they were so close to each other when they were playing out that when Spain won the ball in the counter press, they couldn't cut through the Cape Verdeans. So I think we're going to see some really good football in this game from both teams.
And I think we made this point against Uruguay. Cape Verde played really well, even though they were obviously playing a very low block. Every time they weren't afraid to build out from the back.
And commit numbers.
They
were naive in that game. There were times where it's like it's a 3-on-2 and the guy's taking a shot from 30 yards out. Sorry.
But they're brave. They were brave.
Yeah, very brave.
They're not afraid of coming out of the back, trying to play through. So it's going to be, I agree with you, it's going to be a fun game.
Bubista on the sideline. He's looked like a boss so far.
Bubista,
He's just like very relaxed on the sideline.
Loved his embrace with Bielsa, by the way. You know, you can criticize Bielsa, but when Bielsa has respect for another manager, he looks at you. There's a line in The Great Gatsby. Where Nick Carraway, the narrator, said, when Great Gatsby looked at you, it was as if there was nobody else in the world. That's how Bielsa looks at people he respects. So I'll give him that.
All right, Eric, that's how me and Michele feel when you're here.
I agree.
All right, let's dig into the final group of the day. It'll kick off at 11 p.m. Eastern time. We have Group G.
How many games are there
Egypt
today?
versus Iran. Egypt coming in first place off their victory against New Zealand, sitting on 4 points. So fairly comfortable that Egypt will clinch their spot in the next round. The nightmare scenario for them is Iran beats them, Belgium wins. Egypt would fall to third place in that scenario. They still probably clinch a spot on 4 points. New Zealand, the most work to do left. But for Belgium, it's been an underwhelming tournament. For Iran, I don't know if you saw the speech that Mehdi Taremi gave the group before the Belgium game. The videos come out of it where he talked about believe in yourself. Belgium looks down on you. If you don't believe you're as good, it doesn't matter. If you run your heart out, we'll be there together. It's this inspirational speech.
Yeah.
And I think you felt it in the way they played in that game. And Iran's been granted a second day to be in the country. So Iran's been on site for 2 days leading into this game, which has been the most they've had, which is normal. That's what every team has done. And then they will leave directly after the game, which has also been normal, by the way. Everyone's complained about this. Like,
that's completely normal.
Every team has traveled directly out of their games back to their base camp, so that part hasn't been that weird.
Yeah.
So it should be the best setup for this Iranian team, and it will be about getting some goals.
Yeah, and those issues of traveling and not being able to come to the U.S. Before having to leave immediately, they've also used it as catalyst, as motivation, right? And they've gotten the results. Now, USMNT fans, I know it's late. It's going to be it's 11 p.m. Kickoff for these games. But pay attention because the winner of this group is going to be
in the quadrant,
the USMNT rival on round of 16. Belgium, Jeremy Doku's back after he missed the last game with a sickness, and then he traveled. Reports are that his wife already delivered a baby, and he was there. Good job, Jeremy Doku. That's what you're supposed to do, and because that's the
cut that umbilical cord.
Exactly.
I was told Eric was actually asked to leave during that whole section of his job.
So my biggest question:
get out of the room. I was watching HGTV, and she was like, "Focus."
Can you actually go to the World Cup and please leave?
Go talk soccer. So my biggest question to you guys, it's before going into the details of both games. What do you want here for the USMNT? Do you want Egypt? Do you want Belgium? Do you want Iran?
I'd say
to
Egypt.
Win this group.
I'd say Egypt. I think Egypt's the weakest team of these. I think New Zealand's a step behind. This group and Group A, to me, are very clearly the two weakest groups. And so performances against a team like New Zealand are fun, and I enjoyed it. And the energy the Egypt fans have brought and the moment for Mo Salah, all of it's great. If I'm looking at a World Cup route, that's a team that I want to play. That's a team that I wouldn't fear. And so I would say if they win the group, you're in a great spot, because if they end up in a round of 16, that's the best case you could get.
I don't think the U.S. should fear any team in this group.
Oh, wow. Okay.
No, I really don't believe that.
Yeah.
I just, Belgium, first hiring Rudy Garcia to me just never made sense.
He's better than Roberto. He's better than Roberto Martinez.
Debatable.
I love a Rudy Garcia team. I liked his Roma teams. I like his little teams.
I'll give him credit for
I
Roma.
think they play to their level, and I think Roberto Martinez teams play below their level.
I love him at Roma. He lost all the derbies against
Lazio. He did. That's right. I think
he
was
lost
the first
all of them.
First manager ever, right?
He didn't win anything.
I think he's still living off that 2010, 2011 reputation when he won a Liga. He did the double that year. He's known for being an attacking-minded head coach. Always has. Where are the patterns of play for Belgium?
Yeah.
Like, you talk about Martinez wasting the golden generation with Belgium, which I'm no fan of Martinez. I always thought that was a little bit harsh. In the European Championships, yes, but he got third place at a World Cup.
Yeah.
Okay, that's no easy feat. Having said that, back to the U.S. men's national team. There is nothing that I've seen from Belgium in this tournament that if I'm a U.S. men's national team player, or if I'm Pochettino, who's a Bielsista, I don't know if we've said that already. Played for that
Newells
in the 1991 Libertadores final against São Paulo. I'm just showing off now. But
congrats, Pochettino.
But
we love you.
I just
he was Maradona's roommate.
He was Maradona's roommate. He also had long hair, great hair. But anyway, the point is, if I'm the U.S. men's national team, I look at a lot of players. I don't look at a cohesive plan. I don't think they really understand how they're playing. And you should beat any one of these teams in this group.
They're very Jeremy Doku dependent. Kevin De Bruyne, it's far and away from his best level.
But he has his moments.
He has his moments, but this team depends a lot of what 100%. Jeremy Doku does.
Yeah, I think.
And then they have for me a player on the bench that I can't understand why he hasn't played, and that's Moreira, who plays for Strasbourg, had a career season, not used. Sorry. Yeah.
So for Belgium, if they're able to win, they would most likely win the group, depending on the Egypt result. And while you bring up Herrera, I'm going to bring up someone else. If you've played Football Manager 26, you know there's nothing like watching a player level up on your team. And we're doing the same here with Belgium's Matthijs Fernandez-Pardo, who it was a huge moment coming into the World Cup in May that he decided to pick Belgium over Spain. He had been a Spanish U23 international, U20 World Cup call-up, but then left the camp before the U20 World Cup started so that he wasn't locked in, had an incredible season with Lille, and is a versatile attacking player. On our Football Manager profile, his speed comes in just one behind Erling Haaland. So his breakout ability speed is elite. He can play on one of the wide positions as an attacker. I think he's at his best as a center forward. I think we saw that in central attacking spots with Lille. And I do think it's a massive part of what this Belgium team is missing, because you saw Lukaku come in the first game, immediately creates the own goal because of his pressure centrally. But everything with Lukaku still has to come to his feet because he can't really stretch the game over the top. And I think this would be an opportunity if you, whether you start him or you bring him in maybe a little bit earlier off the bench. Everything with Belgium feels slow. Mm-hmm. Outside of Doku, no one stretches the game. And here would be an opportunity for a young player who you've committed a spot to on the team because you wanted to bring him into the program as the talent gap sort of starts to shrink post-Golden Generation. This is a guy that you're looking to lean on for the next 10 years. But I think he's good enough now to bring a difference to this team, and I would love to see him out there on the field. We've been pretty spot on so far at level ups. We've had Jan Diamande. We've had Johan Manzambi. We've had DeFrugulu. We've had some good calls. It feels like coaches should listen to me.
Yeah, and so many decent young players. By the way, going back to the whole point about the Belgian players not really knowing what they're doing, just look at the way they played the first game. You have De Ketelaere, who's not really a center forward, a second forward, and that's not working. And then you bring in
Lukaku.
Lukaku. Salamaker's a great player. Had an underwhelming season with Milan, but maybe among their best players regardless. And that tells me, I mean, he was throwing the kitchen sink. Who would they play in that first game? It was
New Zealand.
Sorry?
New Zealand?
Was it New Zealand?
Yeah.
Anyway, I forget. One game is going into another.
Egypt.
Yeah. But that was a perfect example. Can I tell a Football Manager story very quickly? Mm-hmm. Okay. I love the game. Mm-hmm. And
if you love the game, by the way, international mode is now available. You can download on Steam or on PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo Switch, anything, and it's 50% off till July 9th.
What a plug.
Do that. That wasn't scripted. I love the game. I was a little story about me. I used to get into a lot of trouble when I was a high schooler. I grew up in the south coast of Portugal, and I was on the beach and playing soccer all the time, and my studies went out the window. So I was flunking out of school, got kicked out of 2. It was a disaster. And my father, with the help of my brother, decided to send me to boarding school in England. Luckily, they had the finances to do that. And I was introduced to Football Manager. But I didn't have a computer. And one of the guys who lived in a room by himself had it, and I started playing it. And I loved that game so much that I used to break into his room while he was sleeping to play the game. That's how much I played the game. And he would never catch me because I'd be quiet. And one day he woke up and he goes, "What are you doing here? Get out! And he deleted the game off his computer.
Nah.
So,
What team were you playing as?
At that specific time, I was playing with Barcelona.
Oh, must be nice.
I used to pick all the top teams so I could win stuff. I don't do that anymore.
I started one, and I actually did a Portuguese second division team
good for you.
at Tondela. Yeah. And no one wanted to come, which was shocking to me because that's my dream job, to just kind of be average in Portugal.
Let's now relate second division Portugal to World Cup, and one of our groups, Cabo Verde.
Yeah.
Torriense won the Portuguese Cup against my team Sporting, and the winning goal scored by one of the Cape Verdean center forwards whose name escapes me right now. But there you go.
So, real quick, I want to do this, and then because I have a great Cape Verde story that we're going to close on, and Jordan's been ready to leave for about 5 hours. I have France in first, Norway in second, Senegal in third. Senegal finishes with a good enough result that they get through as a third-place team. I'm going to have, in the other groups, I'm going to put Belgium with a victory. I'm going to say Iran wins and Egypt falls to third place on 4 points and they get through. And then in the last one, what do I have to say? Spain's going to win, and Cape Verde wins, and Uruguay go out. Does anyone else have any other picks besides the ones that I just put out there?
I'm just going to give you one.
Yeah.
New Zealand with the upset against Belgium.
Okay. And they get through on 4 points. Hell yeah.
You heard it here first.
All my predictions
have been wrong so far. All my predictions.
Elijah Juiced.
Are you a Team Payne Stan?
Sorry?
How does it? Team Payne?
Tim Payne.
Team Payne Stan?
Oh, he's the right
Are you a
back.
follower?
No.
No, the guy now with the 10 million
Yeah.
followers.
I don't really follow soccer players on Instagram.
Yeah.
Me
There's
neither,
enough
so-
soccer in my life.
Yeah.
He's a
Also,
superstar now.
Yeah, he is.
None of them are really interesting, but you should follow us. Follow _KSM on Instagram. Follow SoccerWise. Follow SoccerWise Woso as well. Everything for you. And let me finish on this story because you reminded me of it when you talked about school. A woman named Jill Tucker put on social media
crazy story.
and said, if you ever doubt how magical the world is, one day you'll decide to go to watch a World Cup party in Oakland, where you live. You found online to root for a country where you spent 2 years trying to teach English to Cape Verdean teenagers. And she walks in and she starts speaking to one of the guys who helps run the watch party. And he was one of her students like 35 years ago in Cape Verde when she was teaching English as part of the Peace Corps. And now 35 years later, she's at home in Oakland. He has learned how to speak English. He apologized for how poor all the students were, their behaviors. He still remembered the song she had used to teach them English. And now the game has connected them all the way on the other side of the world. I mean, what a crazy
That's what I love, especially about the World Cup, when you get these teams that you don't know anything about their nation, and you start to learn about their culture. There's teams that, and I'm gonna be completely honest. If you tell me right now, some teams point them in a map, I don't know where they are.
We'll play the tap game.
I know.
You know the region.
I know the region, but exactly where like, okay, I know they're.
That's better than a lot of people.
Yeah.
Especially in this country.
Yes.
Don't get me started.
I was going to say that. So not I'm glad you did.
I can say it. I can say it. I'm Italian Venezuelan. So, so what I'm saying is that I love that because you get invested, not in just in the individuals, like his goalkeeper. Now he also has like 10 million followers.
Vozin,
He has more followers than Tom Brady on Instagram. I saw it. It's
good.
crazy. The power of the World Cup.
Yeah.
The power of the World Cup is special.
Life-changing.
We appreciate all of you being here with us. Guess what? We get to do this literally every single day, the entire World Cup. There is so much to talk about. Tomorrow, we will come back. We'll recap everything we saw today. Fingers crossed. I'm going to be dancing out in the streets with Egypt or Iran fans
Go on, Kiwis.
later tonight to be able to bring that up. And then we will preview, of course, the final day of group stage action tomorrow morning. It will be the final 3 groups to close things up. Then we will know everyone who is moving into the knockout rounds, exactly what the matchups look like. We will have your USMNT Bosnia preview that we will put together tomorrow so that there's enough time leading into the game for everyone to digest everything around it. And then on Sunday, Canada faces South Africa at SoFi Stadium at 3 p.m. Eastern time to begin a round of 32. From there, we have 3 knockout games a day till we get to the round of 16. No breaks in between. We roll all the way through to the quarterfinals. So thank you to both of you for being here. Eric, we're excited to have you in studio with us for the next week. Big shout out to Kuba and Thea being here for emotional support. Huge shout out to Jordan for carrying the load early in this morning. And thank you once again to Derek for being with us late at night yesterday. Huge shout out to everyone in the chat joining us for this one. Please continue to spread the word to any friends or family who you think have a half inkling, or they're enjoying soccer, they're getting into the World Cup, they're thinking about getting into it, they want to learn a little bit more about Cabo Verde, they want to learn a little bit more about Eric's childhood. We are the show to send you. Once again, no thank you to Connor, and we'll talk to you all again very, very soon.